Hey, Deb Howard here. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you're watching. Thanks for joining me today. I am just excited to be here as usual. So let me introduce myself, Deb Howard. I am a coach, a life coach, abundant life coach. I help individuals overcome limiting beliefs about money. And so, one of the things that we're going to talk about today is money and emotions. I started talking about this last week. We started talking about emotional triggers, and I wanted to continue that discussion. This is going to be short because I just want to give you a strategy, right? Because we need strategy. I know that you want to win. I know that, right? I know that you want to win with money. But the good thing about dealing with these emotional triggers is that it will help you in every area of life, right? I mean, every area, because emotions play a big part in our behavior, right? Remember, we've been talking about our thoughts dictate our actions. And so, as we begin to really conquer right, how we manage our emotions, right? We're emotional beings, so there's going to be emotion. That's okay, but we do need to understand how we react to those emotions and what we can do to manage them better, so that we in turn can manage our finances, our personal finances better, and really win at life. So let's talk about, just for a few minutes. I'm actually not going to be here long today, but we're going to talk about using perseverance to overcome emotional triggers. Now, emotional triggers stimulate or provoke a strong emotional reaction. And often, if you are subjected, right, to making decisions or emotional decisions, the reaction often is instantaneously, or sometimes the response is disproportionate, right, to the situation that you're making your decision on, right? You're taking a more extreme approach because the emotion or the emotional trigger is causing you to remember a previous experience or memory or some deeply ingrained behavior that's causing you to have an extreme reaction. All right. And so, I like to talk about myself. So I'll be transparent today too. One of the areas that for me, and I might have mentioned this before, is that I have a few emotional triggers. But one response to an emotional trigger from my own self is food, is eating. So sometimes if I'm feeling a certain kind of way, I want to have a sweet, right? A cookie or cake. I like to bake. My mom used to like to bake. And yeah, certain foods remind me of my mom. So if I'm missing my mom, if I'm feeling that emotion, even if I'm not hungry, I may uh, right, to bake some cookies or to make banana pudding, because these were things that were her signature dishes. I do have the recipes, by the way. Uh, and so at times I will do that. I'm subject to do that, right? Which is not good for me. It's not good for me. Okay. I should not indulge in that way, because not I don't take a nibble, I go to the extreme, right? And so that's one example, because I really wanted you to just have a picture of how our emotions can trigger us to do something, right? I may not even be hungry, right? But that memory, right? And that pain, and that, whatever else is going on, because it's dependent on the person, right? May cause me to take a disproportionate reaction. All right. So what we want to do is understand and manage those emotional triggers, right? Especially in relation to personal finance mastery. It's crucial, right? You're not going to, I'm not going to say you're not, but you're going to have a hard time managing your personal finances. Can I even say you may even have a hard time just managing your life if we don't learn how to persevere over emotional triggers, over our own emotions, over making decisions that are emotional. All right. Okay. So we have to understand that so that we can make decisions that align with our long-term goals and values. I'm not going to go into it to the goals and values because we're going to have another live about that later in the month, but goals and values are important. So emotional triggers, I gave you one for myself, hurt, um, missing someone, loneliness, right? These things, fear, doubt, frustration, past traumas, all of these things often derail progress, right? Your life progress by overwhelming an individual's mental state. Because sometimes we'll say that, right? Sometimes we'll say, I feel so overwhelmed, right? That's coming from a place, right? Usually it's coming from an emotional place. I feel so overwhelmed. Just saying it tells you that it's emotional because I feel, right? You're using the word. All right. And so it can often derail our progress, causing us to feel overwhelmed, leading to procrastination, avoidance, or self-sabotage. Listen, these are the things that hurt us when it comes to managing our money. Procrastination, right? Just not doing anything, not taking any steps to get to where you want to go. Avoidance, my favorite, just avoiding the problem altogether. I had the tendency of pretending like I didn't even have a problem, right? With money, even with eating, right? Even with that trigger of wanting to have, sweets. Okay. So avoidance. And then, of course, if you're operating in procrastination and avoidance, it's going to equal self-sabotage because it's going to keep you from reaching your goals. I'm not talking about somebody else's goals right now. I'm talking about your goals. I'm talking about what you want to achieve, right? And that's why it's important to have them, all right, so that you're focused and clear on where you are trying to go. Okay, so perseverance helps us because it allows us to have that steadfast determination, right, to continue striving towards those goals. So we want to develop that perseverance, right? Being able to face the obstacles, the challenges, and the setbacks that come just in life in general, but also in this financial journey, right? In your financial freedom journey, you have to develop perseverance. We have to be able to keep going. How about that? Even when there's a failure. Listen, our faith is even based on it, right? Our faith is even based on the fact that we have, even when we fall, right? Man falls 7 times and gets up, right? So even when we fail, or even when we have a misstep, or even sin, our faith is based on perseverance. So I want us to really develop perseverance when it comes to personal financial mastery, when it comes to building wealth, when it comes to building the business, building the ministry. Look, I don't want your emotions to keep you, right? You don't want your emotions to keep you from attaining all that God has for you. All right. So how do we use perseverance? All right. Let me get to my little points here. I got some points. How do we use perseverance? So first, awareness. That's the first step, right? Before we can persevere in anything, we have to be aware that there's something I need to persevere over, right? That we have to be aware of the problem. We have to be aware of our emotional triggers, right? We have to be aware. So we have to pay attention to how we react when we feel certain kinds of ways, right? When you're emotional, you need to, some of us need to put out a recorder, some of us need to take notes. Listen, you need to be aware, and you know what emotions cause a reaction in you. Is it when you're sad? Is it when you're bored? Right? My little granddaughter was just telling me the other day, she's 4 years old. Talk about she bored. How you bored at 4 years old? Anyway, so she wanted to do something, and I saw something even at 4 in her, right? Because she wanted some chips. She wanted a salty snack. So boredom and eating don't really go together, do they? But that's a trigger, right? I don't, and that's a funny example, okay, because she is 4. But some of us do have that. So we have to be aware, recognize the emotion and triggers that negatively affect your emotion, your motivation. All right. And then develop the ability to calm and reassure yourself. David encouraged himself. We like that scripture, right? We have to be able, once we are aware of the emotional trigger, then guess what? We've also got to be able to regulate and manage ourselves, right? And we're going to do that by developing the abilities to just calm ourselves down, reassure ourselves in the moment. Look, I have to reassure myself that when I'm missing my mama, you're not hungry. Okay, I'm giving you a real life. This is me. I have to calm myself down. I have to get in a place and say, listen, you're not hungry. You miss your mama. Go drink some water. Okay. So we have to develop that ability so that to calm and reassure ourselves so that we can have a strategy to move forward, right? Reassure yourself in the face of this emotional distress so that you can make a decision, a thoughtful decision. I'm always talking about that, y'all. I'm always talking about making an informed decision. It's not that you can't do anything. You can do whatever you want in life, but you want to do it with the information, right? Making an informed decision, having the information to make a decision and knowing, how that's going to affect my goals, how that's going to affect my desire to, retire early, to make $1 million, to have financial freedom, to send my kids to college, to send myself to college. Listen, you've got to know what your goals are. And so I don't want a temporary situation to take me off track. How you're feeling today is temporary, most likely. Okay. It's a feeling. And so you don't want that feeling to derail you from a long-term goal that can bring you all the things that you desire. Listen, God wants you to have those things that you desire. It is our own responsibility, because we're here in the earth realm, to manage, right, the circumstances, to manage even the environment, so that we can accomplish the things that God has called us to do, that we desire to do, so that we can be a blessing to those. Listen, okay, let me get back to this. All right. And so third, we want to develop strategies to manage those triggers. So as we calm ourselves down, as we reassure ourselves, as we become aware, guess what we do? We're going to develop ways to deal with those emotional triggers. We're going to seek support. Right? Maybe we're going to adjust the goals. I don't know. Maybe we're going to change our environment, right? Because this is our responsibility. This is what is in our hands to do. If God has given us the power to get wealth, then that means I have to use that power, use that intellect, use my brains, my hands, all the things, right? I have to use everything. And that does include managing my emotions, controlling or managing my environment, the intake and outtake. Listen, I've got to be aware. And so these are strategies I want to continue to develop so that when those emotions arise, right, whether it's me missing my mama or whatever your trigger is, some past trauma, whatever, I'm able to recognize it quickly, adjust, and put my strategy in place. All right. And then, of course, we got to persist, continue taking action towards your goals, even when emotions are challenging. Someone once told me, you just keep moving. Listen, I don't know what else to do. I'd be lying to you right now if I didn't have time, if I didn't tell you I had times of uncertainty. If I didn't think, wow, what am I doing? I'm not making a difference. I'm not making an impact. Right? I have those thoughts. What am I doing here? Right? But I have to persist because I have goals, I have vision, and I believe God has given me something that I must accomplish. And so I have to continue taking action, even when my emotions are saying otherwise. So I challenge you to do the same thing. Keep taking action. Listen, whatever your hands know how to do, keep doing it until you know something different. My mama used to say that. I think my grandmother used to say it too, right? That we continue doing what we know how to do. So I encourage you today, continue taking action. If it's your financial journey, if you're on a financial journey, continue taking action. Continue being aware of what you're doing. Continue watching your spending, your bank account. Continue striving towards a spending plan. Look, continue taking action. Continue building the business. Listen, continue doing the lives. Continue taking action, even when your emotions are challenging, even when you are feeling like this is not working. Continue moving, because we have to persist. Persist, or persistence, right, is part of perseverance. So if we're going to persevere, because that's how we're going to overcome, right? That's how we're going to overcome emotional triggers. That's how we're going to overcome financial situations. Listen, that's how we're going to overcome some personal situations in our life. We're going to persevere. We're going to use these steps, right? We're going to be aware. We're going to stay calm. We're going to develop strategies, and we're going to persist. Persist. Because guess what? We are more than conquerors. Listen, thanks for joining me. I appreciate you being here, whether live or replay. I appreciate you on today. And listen, I want to just let you know that, hey, I'll be here I'll be here Thursday again for the Prosperity Principles podcast. And then next Tuesday, we're going to talk a little bit more about money and emotions. And I invite you to join me. If you'd like to join me live, or if you'd like to join me here on my virtual stage, I'd love to have you. Send me a message. I'll send you the link. I'd love to have you here. Listen, you know what I'm going to say. Thanks for joining me. And let me not just forget, put that on the screen right now. Wealth Warriors Arise. Don't forget, we have a summit coming up October 19th. I'd love to have you there. And if you are interested in coming, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Put it in the chat or send me a DM. All right, I'm out of here. Go have your most abundant day.